Hello and welcome to another episode from the Water's Edge, and you catch up with us today currently in the car park at Reepham because we've booked on to the open match. By popular demand, a few of you like the ones we've done before, so we're going to talk you through a live match from my perspective. The things that I do, the baits I do, the rigs that I use, the changes that I make as and when they need to happen. So social distance draws already taken place. I love not drawing my own peg because I can't blame myself if I get a bad one. But I got peg 27, which is over the far side. All the gear's loaded in the barrow. It's time for me to get round there, get set up, and then we'll talk to you about the start of the match when we're all ready. Right, okay, we're all ready to go. We've literally got under a minute probably before the start. So I'll quickly run you through my thought process of what I'm going to do. Now, I've tried to keep things really simple. I know this venue relatively well, so it means I haven't got to set up 5 or 10 different methods. So I'm going to start off relatively short. Now, probably a section longer than I normally would because it definitely makes a difference to have a camera here. Obviously, with it moving around, a bit of noise on the bank. So I'd like to be a touch shorter, but just to try and get away from the noise, I'm going to go a section longer. We're now going to start straight away. And then the other lines I've got my left hand edge, my right hand edge, but I won't feed those until later. And then I've got quite a few fish in front of me, which are looking like they'll feed shallow, which is either going to be slapping a rig in front of them or actually feeding and trying to catch them properly. So they're the options that I've got, but I'm certainly going to start just on this short line here, which I've picked. Normally this sort of 4 to 5 metre line, there's quite good fishing to be had here, certainly early on, and it's just a case of feeding 4mm pellets, and I've got 6mm on the hook. So I probably would give this, here at this venue, I'd probably give it, I don't know, 15-20 minutes, and I'd expect to, you know, have signs or catch fish pretty quick on this line. If not, then you happen to start to look for something else. So, oh, there we go, one straight away. So that's what I'm saying, you should catch pretty quick on this short line here. Oh, they just come off if they're there, but that's a good sign. There's a fish there straight away. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to plug away on this short line, throw pellets regularly, trying to keep that noise going in all the while, and then hopefully the first sort of 25-20 minutes should be pretty hectic. Right, so let's see if we can repeat that process. 1 handful, 2 handful. I'm only feeding 10-20 pellets probably, and I try and get into the habit of, once I hook one, I'll take it out of my peg and then I'll try and feed. Obviously at the start I need to get some bait in there as quick as I can. Obviously, there you go, there's another. So the more you feed, the problem is you get some foul hookers, which potentially those two were. Now I'm going to get a lot of abuse, it's already started, so hopefully next time we can get one and it will actually stay on. Well, there we go, it's not taking too long, but to be honest with you, as soon as I've thrown them first couple of handfuls out, I could see, well, this one's not very big actually, I could see that those fish are probably going to come shallow. It's one of those days where you know, I'll show you this one, this is not the stamp of fish that we're after, a little fantail. But you sort of soon get the idea of how the day is going to pan out. Now, you need to assess how much you think you're fishing for. So if you think your weight, so today I would guess is going to be probably a mid-100. So you're going to need quite a few fish to compete with, you know, they're going to feed somewhere. So you need to make sure that you're not waiting 20-30 minutes on a method before you switch. If you think something's wrong, you have to change it pretty quick. Now that would be different obviously in the winter if, say for example, you thought the weight was going to be one with 40-50 pound, you'd obviously be a lot happier to wait a bit longer. So I'm gonna give this a couple more casts, see what happens. If I get a few more iffy bite, you know, I lost that one first put in. If I get a few more of that, or there is a few fish swimming around, so potentially it could be an early switch. And I mean, even as early as 5-10 minutes, if you've got to be reactive when you think there's going to be a relatively big weight to be had. So like I said, we'll feel the way in, we'll see if there's another one on this line. If not, we'll start thinking about switching pretty early on. Right, so already I'm thinking that's probably not going to be the one. Now, I'm not going to say I'm writing it off, and I'll still keep feeding it because that is a line that works really well here. But a few fish have come shallow as I'm feeding it in there, and there's a few cruising around. So I'm going to have a go and try and catch some shallow. Now, the rig wise, I've got a bit of a universal rig on here, so there's a bit more length between the floats and my pole tip, because if there is any that swimming past, I'll sort of slap it in front of them and try and dob them. But it's also short enough to fish shallow properly, so I'll probably ship out to perhaps 13 meters and actually feed it there and try and catch them shallow. But if I see the odd one cruising past, which there definitely is, then just be a quick slap round in front of them, and hopefully you can entice them in. So again, this might not work, but I'm still in the process of thinking it's going to be a relatively big weight. I can see a few people have caught. I can't see what they're doing in the other lake behind me, but I'm going to guess that there's a few weights that are going to be had. So at the moment I'm still trying to find a method where you feel you're going to catch sort of 100, 150 say, and then if it's a bit slower throughout the period, then obviously you can adjust to that if you don't feel you need to catch that quick. But certainly to start with, try and get yourself on the method that's going to be the most effective as quick as you can. Well, there we go, potentially a good decision. Probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes of fishing, and one's come up and had it straight away. Now, one good thing about here that I've learned over the past is if you catch them shallow, they tend to be slightly better fish, and obviously not always, but you run less risk of foul hooking them. So if you're getting a few iffy bites, things aren't quite going to plan, sometimes coming shallow can make a real difference. But this one's nearly ready, so we'll get him in and see if we can put a run of fish together. There we go, happy with that one. So let's take a minute out and give you a look at him. I don't mind wasting a bit of time. It's not fishing for a row of houses, so wait, come on. None of them like being shown up on camera, but there we go, nicely hooked. And like I said, no foul hooking, well, not guaranteed, but certainly less foul hooking when you're fishing shallow. And this would probably be, I don't want to say it, but this is probably one of the smaller fish that you would catch here when you fish shallow. So if we can put a few of those together, I don't know, every 5 or 10 minutes would probably be good enough at this point. There's a few people catching, but not really bagging, so we just need to find that method to keep us intact at the moment. We'll get them slipped in the net and we'll get back at it. Right, so roughly an hour's gone, and to be honest with you, it's a lot slower than I thought it was going to be. I think there's a few people who've had more than me, but I've lost a couple. I had a few fish fishing this earlier on. I'm actually slapping at the moment, so just a case of sort of windmilling your rig in every 10-15 seconds to try and imitate bait going in, because I'm not convinced that they're really coming to the feed. I'm feeding the odd bit with the catapult, but from what I've seen, like I said, no one is particularly absolutely running away with it. So one good thing is you're still in the match, you know. I've got £10 on my clicker, and normally in an hour, like, you'd almost be starting to really worry, because someone would probably have £40-50 normally here, but I don't think anyone's got that at the moment. So it's just a case of sort of plugging away and finding out what I feel is going to be right. I feel that I'm coming off this now, to be honest, because although I had a couple of fish, like I said earlier, it hasn't been prolific. I've kept feeding the short line to see if they come back, so that's always an option. And I might even have a look down the edge. Reepham is certainly a venue that you can go down the edge early. Some people, you know, catch straight down from the start, and that's all they need to do. So that might be the next option, but at the moment it's certainly just sort of plugging away, trying to find out what I think is going to work. It's always worth obviously looking around what other people are doing, and and I've seen a few other people changing methods as well, so I'm not the only one trying to work out at the moment. I certainly don't think what it was going to be what I said earlier when I said 150 now. Obviously we could have a really good last hour or a couple of hours, which is normal, so the weights could all be sort of a fish race at the end, but I think for now it's just going to be finding a way of putting the odd fish in my net. You know, I need a way of catching 20-30 pound quite quick, which if you get it right or they switch on, that takes minutes, but at the moment that's not happened. So I'm going to give this 5 more minutes, see if I can make something happen. If not, I'm going to perhaps try and switch to something else. Well, I've come off the shallow line back to short just to see, you know, like I said, I kept feeding pellets there just to see if they settled on it, but still don't feel that that's the method. It took five odd minutes perhaps to get a bite, and there's a few people starting to catch now. Peg 12, which is, from what I can see, is probably winning. That's the favourite peg on the complex, so I would expect there to be plenty of fish there. But you know, when no one's out of it, that's the good thing, but we just got to really work out how we're going to put a run of 5 or 6 fish together, and that's my next mission. The hook just come out of the net on that one, but it's a little bit bigger, and certainly the ones that we're going to need if we're going to put a weight together. Calm down. Like I said, I feel that I'm probably, I don't know the weights, but I feel I'm probably 20 pound behind. This would now, I've got 50 on the clip, I'll put 4 or 5 for this one, so puts me on 20 pound. And yeah, I'd certainly expect to be further down the road than that at this point, but at least I've not seen someone have sort of 50-60 pound already and I'm miles behind. But keep plugging away. I'm going to have a go on that, perhaps cup a bit of bait down the edge, because that might be the line that we need to catch on. Well, there's another one, so potentially that little rest has done it some good. And like I said, that's what I've just done there. This is the habit I like to get in, especially here at Reepham, because they do come shallow if you feed like that, is to feed a couple of bigger handfuls once you've hooked the fish or while you're playing it. And then I try not to feed them over my rig to stop foul hookers. But there's a couple of indications and a couple of quicker fish now on this line, so we'd hope that that's going to be something that we can put a little run of fish together, because I certainly feel I need it. I'm behind at the moment. There we go, probably another 2 pound that can go on the clicker once I've popped them in the net, and a little sign that potentially we can put a few fish together. So at the moment we've not really had a run of 3 or 4 fish, they've been in 1s and 2s, and now we're going to try and push on, perhaps feed it a bit heavier, try and really push it now, see if we can get a few fish together. There's another 5 pound for the clicker. Right, okay, so we are about halfway now. There's another 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pound on the clicker, always handy to have, just to make sure you know what weight you've got in your net. Obviously most complexes now have weight limits, and this is the same, so 50 pound is what you do, and then you go into your next net. But at the halfway stage, it's been a lot slower than expected. You know, I was pretty confident that the match was going to be won with a high hundreds, but I think at the moment peg 12, which I mentioned earlier, Tim's on peg 12, is roughly on 60 pounds, so I'm sort of 25 pound behind that. But I guess what it does mean is everybody's still in it. Obviously I don't know what they're doing late behind me, they could be way ahead of all of us, but literally everyone here in this main bowl has still got a chance, which actually, to be fair, I'd probably prefer a match like that. It sounds stupid when you've got even yourself, when someone's sort of 50, £100 ahead, you know, it loses a bit of interest for everyone. I'd rather have to sit and try and work at it, try and get yourself back in it, see if you can push your peg a little bit, than just turning up, catching loads of fish because there's loads of fish in there. So yeah, it has been very different to what I expected it to be, but everyone's still in it, and we've got the next second half of the match to see if anyone can either catch up or overtake. So I've had another fish now on the short line, but it's just, all I'm managing to do is get like 1 or 2 fish, and then it goes quiet for 10 or 15 minutes. It's a real funny day. I've lost quite a few fish, which they've definitely been foul hooks. You know, I've come back with a few scales. This hook's even come out in the net as well. And so you know definitely that they're not really having it as well as you want. Sometimes you just turn up and, you know, you go in, and your float goes under. It's really simple fishing, but it's kind of, you know, it's got to be the same for everyone, because no one is a million miles ahead. You know, I'm probably a good £30 behind, but that doesn't put me out of it at this stage of a couple of hours to go. Another couple of pound in the clicker for that fish. But what I have done over the last hour or so, probably pretty much the only place I can get a bite, although I am losing a few, is this short line. So just to my right over there, I've plumbed up exactly the same depth. So I've not got to change my rig, I've not complicated things, but pretty much I'm giving myself 2 chances of catching how I am here. Now I think this one's foul hooked again. So it literally, as I lift it up, I've lifted into it. Yeah, it's come off. So they're definitely not really having it. They don't want it like I would like them to, but you know, we've got to play around, try a few other things, perhaps mess around with depth, something like that, and see if we can have one, and perhaps go down the edges. I'll put a big pot down either of the 2, one down there, and then in the next 5 or 10 minutes I'm going to have to try that, you know, because I am behind. I need to catch up, and to do that I've got to try something different if these 2 don't really pick up. Fishing's picked up for most people, if I'm honest. It's been a big change for me from having 2 lines, because I just can't cue anything together. So I'll get 1, 2 fish, and then you wait in 10, 15 minutes before you get the next bite, where if you have 2 lines identical, I can literally just flick over to that line and it has made a difference. So I've had a few fish, but I am way behind, unfortunately. So this one's going mental. Tim's now putting his 3rd net in on peg 12, so I am probably 40 odd pound behind that. And then I've lost fish. It's been the story of the day. So frustrating, I've lost so many, but I'm probably 40 pound behind Tim at least. Graham on peg 8 is catching really well, and there's a lot of people on my sort of weight-ish, so I would say that 12 and 8 are probably going to be 1 and 2. But the 3rd spot is to fish for from probably anyone, really. Anyone could be fishing for 3rd. So unless something miraculous happens and we can start queuing a few fish together. But that's one thing I haven't been able to do all day. I've had a couple of quick looks down the edge and nothing. And you know, if you're going to catch up any particular way or keep up with people who are now catching down the edge, you know, you need to get fish queued up. You need to be having 40, 50 pound at least this last hour to keep in contention with anyone. So it's going to be plugging away. I'll keep switching between these 2 lines. The line bites, the foul hookers are driving me insane. I can't work it out properly today, but it's one of those things with fishing, and we'll see what this last hour and a bit brings. been crazy, to be honest. It's the best session, or the best bit that I've had in this match, but it has been for everyone. You know, everyone's catching now. I've probably got, I don't know, something around £90 perhaps, and unfortunately with only like 30 minutes left, I'm gonna have to go and get another net. So it feels a bit of a waste and a waste of time, especially when everyone's catching, because there's 3 people now with 3 nets in already who are well ahead of me in time wise, and you know, I just don't think I'd be able to catch them up. But you never know. It's time now to do things quickly and go and get myself another net. Well, that didn't take long. Just before I left, I'd had 3 or 4 bites which were literally within seconds of shipping out, and that one took a minute or two, and I thought, oh no, this could be the curse of the 3rd net. I've had it loads of times when you plop another net in and either the noise of it or something disturbs them, and they spook off of it. But another fish. Hopefully we are going to need this net in this next half hour, but it's pretty lively. I don't think I'm going to be able to hold him up for you, but nice little lever, that one, about £2 or £3 probably, a weight builder, and certainly one now to charge into the end to hopefully see if we can have a few more of those. But I'm going to concentrate flicking between the 2. Like I said, sort of everything else is out the window now. The other lines haven't kicked off all day. These short line really and a few fish shallow is all I've got. I've had nothing down the edge. I've tried it a couple of times, but I haven't really spoke to you about it because just literally nothing's happened. The float hasn't moved. I've not had any indication that there's fish there. So although sometimes on this peg, if they come down the edge, you know, it's a good peg, but certainly sort of 12, 8, those sort of peg, they definitely get down the edge quicker sometimes. And you know, it's one of those things, you have to keep messing around the day and find out where they're going to come, because if they don't want to go down the edge, it's pointless trying to fish and sit 10-15 minutes for a bite because you feel at the end of the match that's what you should be doing. You know, at the end of the match you need to finish on whatever you feel is going to be your strongest line, and throughout, you know, if you've been fishing 5-6 hours, by that point you probably know what you've had most fish on and what your strongest line is at that particular point. So it's exactly what I'm doing. I'm on top kit +2, feeding 4mm pellets, 6mm on the hook, and then hopefully that's all I'm going to sit to finish on. Well, there we go, they're the ones you need at the end, the big fish. They tend to feed as it gets late on, but we really haven't got long left now. Probably worth 2 fish, that one, so I'll take it. But I'm going to show you if I can slip this one in net and catch 1 or 2 more just before the end. Oh yeah, okay, so that's it, match over and all finished, and a thoroughly enjoyable day. And actually really surprising to myself, I've finished second, so I've won my particular lake that I was sitting on, but a chap on 29 actually beat me. But I was really surprised myself, and I've had a mega good end. So where I said sort of where I feel peg 10 and 12 were a long way ahead of me, they generally were. You know, but I've had a really good finish. So one thing I would say is never give up. You know, you never know what's around the corner, and I've probably had, I don't know, by far my best fishing has been the last hour. So there's always a chance to come back if you get it right. And one thing I feel that people don't do enough of is evaluate the match. So for me, it's just as important as fishing the match itself. You know, you need to assess what you've done wrong, what you've done right, and how to put it right next time if you get another opportunity. So my match in itself, like I said, I've had a really slow start, a terribly frustrating middle, a lot of foul hook fish, which is really frustrating. And despite coming off the bottom, laying a bit more on bottom, nothing I'd done particularly made a difference. So I can't really learn too much from that, apart from they were probably just feeding a little bit strangely. I've fished this lake enough to know that, you know, there's a lot of fish comes in, foul hooking can be an issue. But like I said, I think the whole way through, apart from the whistle, I was probably behind on my lake, and in the end I've beaten by 4 pounds. He's at 124 pound, I've had 128 with the winner on 154. So some very, very good weights, some good things to think about to take forward, and like I said, just evaluate to see if you can get better next time. But that doesn't leave me an awful lot left to say, apart from I hope you've enjoyed it. It was a popular request to do these matches again, so we'll be going out and doing a few more. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, but for now, we'll see you again on the next one.